All right, we are live. For anyone who may be viewing after the fact, this is going to be a discussion, pretty interactive with the audience. We are going to be discussing the Senior Bowl recap. I traveled to Mobile, Alabama this week for the Senior Bowl, traveled back today. We're also going to be discussing the impact and ramifications of the NFL draft from the Senior Bowl. We're going to discuss everything: biggest winners, biggest losers, how it impacts the draft, what teams may be selecting players that were, of course, in Mobile, and everything along these lines. So let's go ahead and discuss here. All right. The first player that I do want to really talk about in terms of one of the biggest winners from the Senior Bowl would be none other than Marshall's Mike Green. I mean, he had an all around just tremendous week, man. He had a tremendous week. There was the rep that everybody talks about was the rep where he got on Oregon's Josh Connerly. Now, I've been pretty high on Oregon's Josh Connerly, and I'll see if I can actually pull the clip up, because I don't think that's going to, copyright. I don't think that's going to, that's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to see if I can actually pull that clip up. But the clip with, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. The clip that everybody was talking about, I was actually about 100 feet away from when this happened. So let me go ahead and see if I can pull this up here. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. Let me just go ahead and see if I can pull it up here. And I want to give you guys an idea of just how, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to go, nope, not that. There we go. All right. So I want to just give you guys an idea of just how insane this clip was. So this was the clip right here. I was about 100 feet away from this clip. And this was, nope, not that. I'm sorry. This was the clip right here where everybody was going crazy over when Mike Green absolutely bowled over Josh Connerly. And you might actually be able to see me in the background. I wonder if you can see. I was standing with Marcus Whitman here, that franchise guy on YouTube. I don't know if you can see Marcus and I, but actually that might be us right there. I know Marcus was wearing white. I was wearing gray. Marcus is like 6'2". I'm like 5'11". But anyway, everybody was just ecstatic whenever this play happened. It was just very unreal. Everybody was going crazy when Mike Green made this play. I thought he walked out of Mobile as one of the biggest winners, without a doubt. I would be pretty surprised if Mike Green is not. I would be surprised if he's not a top 20 pick after this week. I thought Mike Green was just dominant all over the field. I really, really enjoyed watching him play and win the one-on-one situations. Now, a couple of other guys that I do want to highlight. I really like Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. And whenever you have a prospect like Gray Zabel, you're always going to have, this especially goes back to a guy like Cody Mock, who also played at North Dakota State. You were going to have a lot of questions about how are they going to be able to play when they play bigger competition. And Cody Mock was an offensive tackle at North Dakota State. He, of course, transitioned to guard where he is today with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is very good at what he does for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think Gray Zabel is an interior offensive lineman. I think he's a day one starter. I would be pretty fine with him still being a first round pick. I like Cody a lot, or I like Gray Zabel a lot, and yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to for me. Big fan, as a Bucs fan, any ideal spots for us? I would really, really like the Bucs to go get Mike Green. There were a couple of content creators yesterday that discussed the idea of having Mike Green, or it was myself, it was Marcus Whitman, it was Broshmo, and it was Alex from Hail Mary Sports. We did a video while we were at the Senior Bowl together. And we did landing spots for guys like that. And we each had a landing spot. I had Billy Bowman going to the Ravens, the defensive back from Oklahoma. Marcus Whitman had Mike Green going to the Bucs. And I think Mike Green going to the Bucs makes a tremendous amount of sense. The only problem that I think there would be for Bucs fans is I don't know if he's going to be able to make it that far. And when you pull up the 2025, sorry, I'm stuck at the past there for a sec. Whenever you pull up the 2025 NFL draft order, I don't know if Mike Green's going to fall all the way to near pick 20, which is where the Bucs are selecting. And technically speaking, the Bucs are selecting at pick 19. But there's a lot of teams that are going to need edge help. There's a chance the Bengals are going to need edge help. And the Bengals, by the way, just an all-around frustrating last couple of months for them. There was a thing that came out today about the Bengals. The Bengals saying that the market, like basically for Trey Hendrickson, that we're always listening to calls, which was not good. That was basically openly saying that, hey, like, we're probably not going to pay him, so if you want to trade for him, now is your chance. I didn't like that at all from the Bengals, by the way. But that was to me, that was just kind of losing football. That was a losing football decision. I really didn't like that. But anyway, let's keep it rolling here. Finally made it into a stream. That's what's up. Would love for Kenneth Grant to go to my Steelers. I like Kenneth Grant, the prospect. I mean, there's no team where I would say Kenneth Grant shouldn't go to, but the Steelers, I just think, have so many more needs on the offensive side of the ball before they should at least draft Kenneth Grant. Now, I know you can say, well, if they have Kenneth Grant, Keanu Benton, TJ, and Alex Highsmith, then everything else becomes easier, and you would, in theory, be correct about that. But I'm not a fan of doing that when their offense is just as abysmal as it is all around. So I'm just going to tweet out the link, let everybody know that we are, in fact, live. And let's go ahead and tweet that. Let's go ahead and let everybody know we are live discussing the Senior Bowl on the channel. But there is a prospect that I would like for the Steelers to draft, preferably in the second round. I don't think this guy is a first-round pick, but that's TCU wide receiver Jack Bech. If you tell me right now the Steelers walk out of the draft with either A.O. Maynor from Stanford or Jack Bech from TCU, sign me up for it. Sign me up for it. I'm a huge proponent of that. And that's what the Steelers need. They need a big physical receiver, just a guy they can rely on, just a guy that will put his head down and run block his tail off. The one thing that somebody said about Jack Bech potentially going to the Steelers, which I did get a good chuckle out of, I can't lie, is Jack Bech too stable of a receiver to go to the receiver, or too stable of a receiver to go to the Steelers? I did get a good chuckle out of that. We are live discussing the NFL Draft and Senior Bowl on the channel now. But hopefully everybody had a good week, by the way. Let's keep it rolling here. No, Jack Bech and A.O. Maynor from Stanford are just two guys that I absolutely love. Let's keep it rolling here. Let's see. More likely Eagles blow out Chiefs or Chiefs blow out Eagles. I don't think either, personally. What do I think of Ariante Ursery? Ursery had some tough moments this week. He had actually a pretty up and down week. There were some moments where I very much was disappointed with Ariante Ursery, but there were also moments where he certainly rebounded. I am under the belief that I think he is a guard at the NFL level, and I think that can be said for a lot of prospects in this class, where I don't think a lot of these guys have the foot speed to be able to play out a tackle, and I think Ursery is one of them. I like Ursery, the prospect, but like I said, I don't think he has the foot speed, and I think that was kind of evident during his time at the Senior Bowl. And my thing with Ursery is, if you are showing signs of not being able to hang up with guys or keep up with guys at the Senior Bowl, then what is it going to be at the NFL level when you are playing guys every single week? You know, if you get drafted into a division, I'll just toss one out here. Let's just say the AFC West was the first that came to mind, right? Not that he's going to go there. This is just the first one that came to mind, right? But if you get drafted by the Broncos or Chargers, we'll just say the Chargers. That's a terrible example. The Broncos. We'll just say the Broncos. You're going to be going up against guys like George Karlaftis. You're going to be going up against guys like Max Crosby, Khalil Mack said he wants to run it back one more year, Nick Benito. I don't think Ursery would fare well. I think Ursery is very much a guy to go on the outside, or rather in the interior. Let's keep it rolling here. Saints fan here. Any team fits for us? Yes, there's a bunch with the Saints. There's a lot of fits with the Saints. Pretty much any quality player that would be a fit for the Saints. The Saints right now are selecting number 9 overall. They have so many team needs. They typically go for more power profile at the pass rush position. So a guy like Shamar Stewart would be probably pretty good from Texas A&M. He had a really good week this week at the Senior Bowl. And if guys leave the Senior Bowl early, then you know they had a pretty good week. And Shamar Stewart is definitely one of those guys. He had a really good week. He left the Senior Bowl early. I'm pretty sure Mike Green also left the Senior Bowl early. If they leave before Thursday, much less Saturday, which the game is on Saturday, they made themselves a lot of money this week. So good for them. Shamar Stewart would be a good fit for the Saints. And he's out of Texas A&M. He's a pretty heavy-handed pass rusher. I think he'll probably be going in the top 15. All right. The Garf, appreciate the super chat. All right. The Titans take Ward and set themselves back 5 years. Personally, disagree. I like Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward a lot more than I like Shedeur Sanders. I think if you are taking a swing at a quarterback number 1 overall, you have to go for the fences. I don't think, unless the prospect has such a high floor like a Manning or Luck, for example, where the floor is there, the IQ is there. Those are the term generational gets tossed around way too much. I'm not using that for anybody in this class, with the exception of Travis Hunter. I can get more into that in a minute, but Cam Ward's not that level. Nobody. There's very few guys that are that level. Even Trevor Lawrence was not that level. So I don't think. I think Cam Ward's what I'm trying to say is Cam Ward's a better prospect than Shedeur. I would prefer him to Shedeur Sanders. He has a higher ceiling than Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion. And I think he's going to be all right. I think there's a chance that the Titans go out and try to bolster the offensive line in free agency because they have the money. And if they draft Cam Ward, they can go out and try and get somebody like Trey Smith in free agency. And what's important to note there is the Chiefs' new general manager is Mike Borgonzi, who was the Chiefs' assistant general manager. The Titans' new GM is the former Chiefs' assistant general manager. There's a relationship there with Trey Smith. So there's a lot going there. The Titans can still bring in another receiver in free agency, maybe not a T. Higgins, but they can still bring in guys in free agency. Trey Smith also went to the University of Tennessee, by the way, so there's also a connection there. And they can bring in guys in the draft in the later rounds. So I like Cam Ward going to the Titans quite a bit. All right. Chicken Nuggets. Hey, have you been able to watch tape on Illini wide receiver Pat Bryant? Yes, I like Pat. There's a lot of good big receivers in this class. This class, wide receiver wise, is certainly not to the level of last year where you had Marv, Neighbors, Odunze, BTJ, Ladd, everybody, right? And then even Brock Bowers from a receiving standpoint, right? This class is not that level. And I don't think there's going to be a class that's going to be that level for quite some time. But there's a lot of good receivers in this class, and Pat Bryant is certainly one of them. And I really do like Pat Bryant's tape for who he is. I think he has the potential to be a Cedric Tillman type player in year 2, year 3. Now, it's going to require a little bit to get him the football early on. It's going to have to be a lot of manufactured touches. But Pat's, he's a mid-round prospect for a reason. But I really do like Pat Bryant as a prospect for what he is. And typically in the draft, there are prospects where I like guys for who they are and for what they do. Specific like role players, Pat Bryant being one of them. And there's no reason to think that he couldn't have 30, 35 receptions in year 1, especially in the NFL in 2025. So I like Pat Bryant as a prospect, and I think he has a clear role in the NFL. All right, Garf, appreciate it. What are the odds Zabel makes it to the Jags in the second round? I would say pretty low after this week. I think Zabel is kind of everybody's draft crush right now, and I don't think after the Senior Bowl, everybody seeing up close in person, that he gets out of the top 32 players. I don't think you can walk away from this class, everybody seeing him in person, every NFL scout, every NFL team seeing him up close at the Senior Bowl and basically saying, you know what, let's just pass on Gray Zabel for somebody else that has a much lower floor. Somebody like a Savion Williams, a receiver from TCU, and I like Savion, but there's a lot more risk with him than I think there is Gray Zabel. No disrespect intended, but that's just for reference. Or, maybe if there's a third tight end wouldn't go, but you understand what I'm saying. The floor is there with Zabel. I think he reminds me a lot of Graham Barton as a prospect. Don't overthink the player. Just know you are getting a good football player and sleep like a baby for the next several years. So Zabel making it to the Jags in the second round, I would say very, very low. Made it to the stream again? Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Mike Green goes top 5. Definitely do not agree with that. There are like 10 teams looking to get Trey Smith. You're 100% right. I would actually say there's even more than that. I would say there's more than that. All right. Adam, appreciate the super chat. I see a lot of people pushing for Broncos to take a running back, but I think we should develop Estime, draft O-line, and trade for a top wide receiver / tight end. Your thoughts? So Denver right now is selecting at pick 20. I would agree with that, with what you're saying. I would not want the Broncos to take, assuming Ashton Jeanty isn't there, I would not want them to take him in round 1 or any other back other than Jeanty. I would prefer the Broncos to try and draft Tyler Warren in the first round. I think you can get 70% of what Ashton Jeanty will be in round 4, round 5. This is a really, really good running back class. Maybe not 70%, although I don't know. Bucky Irving just had a really good year this year and was selected in the 4th round, so who knows? But you shouldn't force a need when there's clearly other needs on the roster. And you said this perfectly. For me, a perfect offseason for the Broncos would be to bring in, this is a spicy take, by the way, Garrett Wilson through a trade, somehow, some way. I don't think it would require the 20th overall pick because the Jets are kind of in a desperate situation with where they are as a franchise. And I know they just hired Aaron Glenn. I know they're bringing in the former Broncos assistant GM, which I don't know how much you can sit here and actually think about, okay, well, he's the assistant GM. You know, is he going to do any favors? He's not going to do any favors. But I don't think Garrett Wilson would cost a first-round pick at this point in time. I think it would probably be a second-round pick, but first-round pick? I don't think so. So I'd like for the Broncos to be able to do Tyler Warren, Garrett Wilson, and O-line would definitely be up there. And you're also in a rookie window with Bo Nix. You're also shedding the Russ contract, which is huge. So I like Audric Estime. Loved him coming out of Notre Dame. Was a big fan of Audric Estime. I'm all for it. I'm all for that. All right, my tight end rankings right now. I would go Tyler Warren, number 1. Colston Loveland, number 2. Harold Fannin Jr. Not Harold Fannin, sorry. Gunnar Helm at 3 is where I'd go. And then I would go Elijah Arroyo at 4. And then I'd go Harold Fannin at 5. Elijah Arroyo he was another player who had a great week. Great week at the Senior Bowl. Really, really enjoyed seeing him play. I wanted to see how he looked in person, looked phenomenal. And right now he's my tight end 4. I like his game a lot. I also like Gunnar Helm's game a lot. And I am a big proponent that I think Gunnar Helm is kind of a blend of Pat Freiermuth and TJ Hawkinson. I think he has really, really translatable skill sets to the NFL. And Gunnar, I want to pull up his exact stats during his final year at Texas because he's just coming off of a good year. And there were several plays where Gunnar was making guys miss. I mean, he was hurling guys as a tight end, and you don't see that too often. Yes, you see it occasionally, but to act like that's a regular thing, it's not. And Gunnar finished this year over 670 yards, 6 touchdowns. There's always naysayers that will point to only 1 year of production, but tight ends at the collegiate level are not, Travis Kelce type prime players where they have 80, 90 receptions. They're not Harold Fannin Jr. type players that get 100 receptions in volume. So I really like Gunnar Helm. He's my tight end 3 right now. All right. Let's see here. Let's keep it rolling. What do the Vikings do about O-line if we can't pick up a guy like Trey Smith? Do we draft one early? Personally, this may be a hot take, but if I am the Minnesota Vikings, I would do absolutely everything to go get Trey Smith. I would do everything. I would not get outbid for Trey Smith because you have J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract. Do whatever you can. You got to pay $23 million a year. Go for it. 3 years, $69 million. Nice. 4 year, $92 million. Go for it. Do it. 4 year, $96 million. 48 guaranteed. 60 guaranteed. Do it. You have to start to build a wall in front of J.J. McCarthy. And I'll be honest, also as a Vikings fan, I try not to be, biased in terms of things. I think I do a generally good job in terms of portraying how my team is, even though they've won 13 games in 2 out of the past 3 seasons. But there's times where I watch my team play, and I am so sick of them being soft up front. So I'm all for backing the Brink trucks up for Trey Smith. All right. Joseph, appreciate the super chat. Should the Bills look for a speedster at receiver with the first few picks or focus primarily on defense in a deep defensive line draft? Future Bills video coming. So I'll be honest, right now, I do not have a Bills video scheduled. It's nothing personal. I just don't. Right now I'll just be direct here. The video that I have coming out Saturday is grading the 2024 NFL draft class, pick 17 through 32. That will be out Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Be there. Like, comment, subscribe. We're close to 180. Anyway, the Bills, what I think they should do is draft the best defensive lineman. There's been times, although this year was not exactly normal just in terms of their loss to Kansas City. I'm not going to get, too much into that. I don't want to rehash everything with that game. But there's been times where the Bills have been run on in the postseason. And this year was not like that against the Chiefs. I mean, they outgained Kansas City. They even won the turnover battle 1-0. And it was we know it was a weird loss, but there's been times where they've been run on in the playoffs. And if Kenneth Grant from Michigan is there for Buffalo when they are on the clock at what is right now pick 30, you have to go get him. You have to go get Kenneth Grant if he's there. I hope he's there for Buffalo. I don't know if he will be. I know at times teams severely undervalue defensive linemen or interior defensive linemen, and the league kind of goes through a cycle where they will overvalue positions and undervalue positions, and I think a perfect example of that is the league extremely overvaluing linebackers. 5-6 years ago when Devin White and Devin Bush each went in the top 10 as off-ball linebackers, and neither are on the team that they were drafted by. Devin White had that one really good year where they won the Super Bowl, but after that was the fan base did not like him, and it was downhill after that. So right now the league is pretty low on linebackers, and I think you kind of saw that last year with a couple of good selections on day 2. Edgerrin Cooper, of course, being one of them with the Packers, who absolutely terrifies me as a Vikings fan. But anyway, with the Bills right now, all of this to say, I really hope that Kenneth Grant falls to them. And even in the worst case, I think Walter Nolan is a solid player that would really help out the Bills. But if I'm Brandon Beane at this point, you have Josh Allen, and I mean this in the most positive way that I possibly can say this. You just went to the AFC Championship game. You lost by a field goal. Yes, I know it stinks, obviously. You lost, you're down 4-0 in the series to the Chiefs. I know that is brutal. But this was a rebuilding year. And you went to the AFC Championship game. In a game that you can easily make the case you should have won. Even if Kenneth Grant's there at pick 20, you got to give up a third-round pick. Whatever. Go get him. Go bring him home. Don't overcomplicate it. So definitely the Bills focus on the defense. And I will say this. I will be releasing a video soon. This doesn't directly apply to the Bills, although this specific concept does. I'm not creating this point with the Bills in mind, but what we learned from the NFL playoffs will be out soonish, and we're going to talk about the trenches. And if Buffalo can beef up the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, I would like to think they're eventually going to beat the Chiefs at some point. Josh is only 28. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player. Go get a defensive lineman. All right. Nikhil, appreciate both $1 stickers. I didn't get a message with them, but appreciate it. Bills have an extra second. Good call, Nick. That is from I was just using that as a hypothetical, but that is from the Vikings trade last year, from the Texans trade with Stephon Diggs, and the Texans got that second round pick from the Vikings, who traded up so they could get a second first round pick. New backdrop coming. Yes, it's right here. We've discussed the background before. We haven't at some point. This is the backdrop right here. This is like see-through, so I can actually put a light behind it. The backdrop will be coming, I promise. I just got back from the Senior Bowl though, so it's gonna be a little bit, but the backdrop will be coming, I promise. It's also really heavy. I don't know if you guys can tell. It's metal. It is metal, so it's heavy, and it's got some weight to it. So Got to be gentle with it, but it'll be coming. I promise. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's keep it rolling. Okay. What players should the Lions look for in this draft? I would personally say just to continue improving the roster. I mean, the problem with the Lions is you're not going to, I mean, at least I would hope, the likelihood that they have another season like they just had with as many injuries as they did is extremely low. And if they do have another season even close to that, then I think that's like the strength and conditioning and the coach and all that. And then we have that discussion later. I'm not like qualified. Yes, I go to the gym and I work out, but I don't want to sit here and pretend that I can talk to you about Amon-Ra St. Brown's quad and what he needs to do to work out front squats 3x6 at whatever weight and act like I know what I'm doing any more than the average gym goer. You know what I mean? But the Lions just simply need to stay healthy. They obviously are one of the best talented, they're the most talented rosters in the league. But for the Lions, it's just go best player available pretty much anytime they're on the clock. All right. Edge rankings. All right, let's keep it going here. Edge rankings. Let's go here. Edge rankings. Number 1 is, of course, Abdul Carter. Abdul is awesome. I love Abdul Carter. Right now, it would be Abdul 1. I would personally go Mike Green number 2. I'm a big Mike Green fan. I am a little lower on James Pierce. I know people are going to. I know there's going to be a James Pierce hive, and I get it. I understand the hype for James Pierce. I do. But I think there's a little low. There's the lows I feel like with James Pierce are a little too low for me to buy in the way that I am with a guy like Mike Green. So Shamar Stewart is a bit of a tricky guy because he's 290, but he is right now technically an edge. I like Shamar Stewart more than I like James Pierce. So if you would have Shamar Stewart at edge, then I would have Shamar Stewart at 3. I would have James Pierce at 4, Mykel Williams probably at 5, and then Donovan Ezeraku at 6 would be right there. I'm a big Donovan Ezeraku guy. Donovan Ezeraku is a player that I will ride for. I like his game a lot, and just remember the name Donovan Ezeraku. For anybody that doesn't know who he is, just remember that name. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Rich, how have my Raiders looked so far with coaches? They just brought back Patrick Graham. I did see that. And they also, of course, brought in Pete Carroll. Now, Rich, I mean, you obviously know that the Raiders are in a bad situation. And that's, I mean, the thing with the Raiders is what this offseason is about, is stabilizing where they are. This situation right now reminds me a lot of the 2019-2020 Washington Commanders, that area, or the football team at the time, where they just need to get, they just need to stabilize the franchise. And that is where the Raiders are. It's bad right now. I mean, anytime you head into a season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew and Alexander Madison and Sincere McCormick and Amir Abdullah as quarterback and running back duos/trios in the year 2024, that was my biggest problem entering last year. And I will say Raiders fans a lot of them were passionate, like, hey man, like, just wait till we prove you wrong. And I was very much under the belief of, hey, I hope you guys do prove me wrong, but I'm very hesitant on believing in this team, and now we know why. But right now, it is simply about raising the floor for where the Raiders have been over the past couple of years, and I think Pete Carroll will do that. All right. What do the Pats need to do this offseason to set Drake May up for success? I think it's very, very simple. You have to, at all costs, reasonably, you're not going to give up the number 4 pick. Let's just establish that very clearly. You're not going to give up the number 4 pick. Bring in T. Higgins. You can very much bring in Stephon Diggs. You can overpay Stephon Diggs. It doesn't matter because you have so much money. Bring in Cam Robinson and bring in Ronnie Stanley. That is the Patriots' plan right there. And then if you want to draft Will Campbell at 4, go for it, so that you have a plan after either Ronnie Stanley or Cam Robinson. Go for it. Bring him in. Bring him in. Somebody actually asked about Will Campbell, and I saw that. Where was the comment? I saw a couple comments about Will Campbell. There it is. Does Will Campbell to the Pats make sense? Okay, I actually saw Will Campbell before I saw your comment, Nikhil. It makes sense. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Also, the Pats should not trade Joe Milton. No, they should not trade. They should not trade Joe Milton. All right, Chris Godwin to the Pats. I just it's not a fit that I don't like. I just would be surprised if Chris Godwin would do that at this stage in his career. I think Chris Godwin is, I'm not going to act like I have insight on this, but I feel like Chris Godwin is content knowing that Baker just threw for over 40 touchdowns in the season, knowing Mike Evans is there, knowing he is Chris Godwin has had one heck of a career, guys. He is to me, I will say this, I really think that Chris Godwin will go down as one of the most underappreciated players of this generation. Chris Godwin, right now, he's 28 years old because he entered the league as a 21-year-old rookie back in 2017. So he's still over a year away from being 30. He has 579 receptions and over 7,000 yards. So there's a non-zero chance if Chris plays, 3-4 more years, that he finishes his career with 800 receptions, 10,000 yards, and 50 touchdowns as a third-round pick. I would like to think that Chris is probably content at this point with where he is in Tampa. Run it back. Get me close to market value. I'm not going to get fleeced respectfully. Get me close to market value. We'll run it back. Pay me, 20, 22 a year. We'll be good. I don't think Chris would leave, especially Tampa. Think about it. Where would you rather be catching passes December 15th from Baker Mayfield in sunny Tampa against the Saints? Or would you rather be catching against the Bills in minus 14 degree weather, lake effect snow in Buffalo? So I would like to think that Chris stays in Tampa, but that's just me. All right. Commander Cody, I've seen you comment this a couple times, so I want to address this. I'm not gonna say like 9 names apiece, but I do want to I like to have like a consensus big board in front of me just to give you an idea of where I am compared to some of these guys. So one player that I'm not going to make a video about this because I don't like absolutely slandering a 21 or 22-year-old prospect. Now, if we talk about it on a live stream, that is a different thing, but I'm not going to sit here and cut out highlights of this player getting, making bad plays or getting stuffed if he's a pass rusher or getting beat if he's an offensive lineman. One player that I am not particularly high on is Arkansas pass rusher Landon Jackson. I think there's a role for him in the NFL, but Landon Jackson, to me, was a disappointing player at the Senior Bowl because, first off, heading in, they said he was 6'7", and he measured in at 6. It was like 6'5" and a fourth. And if you are saying you're 6'7" and you're 6'5" and a fourth, you're not 6'7". You know that, and that is setting yourself up for failure because whenever you are, 6'6", 6'7", there's a natural curiosity to see what this guy can do. So Landon he didn't do well with that, knowing he already wasn't 6'7", and then on top of it, he didn't do good at Senior Bowl practice. I said out loud a couple times, half to myself, half to anybody that was in the vicinity, show me something here, Landon. I want to see what you have. I was a little disappointed with what transpired at Senior Bowl practice for him. Now, I will say this. I don't think he's a 100% draft bust. There's no hope for him. I don't think that. I also would like to say that after practice one day, he was getting extra reps in with Purdue interior offensive lineman Marcus Mbow, which is pretty cool to see. Guys obviously care about their craft and obviously, want to get better and iron sharpens iron. So I'm all for that. But I'm a little out on him. I think there's a lot of people that think Landon Jackson is early to mid second round. I am not that high on Landon. I would think maybe late 2, early 3. The physical traits are obviously there. And there's a chance that if he does really well at the combine, if he throws up 28, 30 reps and he runs a decent 40, that he can really boost his stock. I was a little underwhelmed though, but I was a little underwhelmed with him. Now, underrated. I want to go for an underrated prospect here. Let's see an underrated prospect. I would probably say, and this all depends on how you feel about these guys, because, you know, you may be high on them like me, you may be low on them, whatever. I would say an underrated prospect is Chris Paul. Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker from Ole Miss. I think he's really rangy. I think he is a good coverage linebacker. Now, I think he can get washed out in the run game sometimes because he is a little lighter than you would expect. Now, Chris Paul was listed at 235. I don't think he necessarily played quite at 235. I think he was more, you know, maybe 230, 231-ish. But if he played at 235, I thought he was... I didn't think he was as beefy as you would like for him to be at that size. That's just where I stand on that. But when the league is, you know, as pass-heavy as it is, Chris Paul is a really good player. I like his game a lot. I like Chris Paul a lot. I think he's a really high IQ player. And I think Chris Paul Jr. will be a really, really good prospect. All right, let's see here. Somebody said I'm overrating... Who's overrating Vrabel's influence? Okay, I don't think I am. I actually didn't say anything about Vrabel. All right, anyway. Let's see here. Godwin is 28 with the knees of an 87-year-old. My birthday is December 15th. Oh, good call. That was actually the date that I said. That's funny. All right. I doubt it would happen, but Godwin to the Bills would be awesome. Now, I'll say this. There's a difference between Chris Godwin going to Buffalo to play with Josh Allen and the Bills and Drake May and the Patriots coming off a season where they had the number 4 overall pick. There's a difference there. But I still think he'd return to Tampa. All right. Super chat from Michael's Penix. I like that. That's a good username there. Appreciate it. Top NFC teams that can win a Super Bowl. Does San Francisco have competition? Yes, 100%. There's a lot of teams that I'm going to be pretty high on next year. Detroit, of course. If Atlanta can do something defensively, I really like Michael Penix. Every year there's a team where I'll buy in with a young quarterback. I'm already saying Atlanta's going to be that team next year. Reasonably, I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl because I have a lot of questions with Raheem Morris. But I like Michael Penix a lot. Detroit, of course, San Francisco. Like you said, they'll be back. I'm not going to bet against a Kevin O'Connell-led team with what they just did with Sam Darnold. 14 wins. I mean, they've won 13 games in 2 of the past 3 seasons, so also think Green Bay will be back. I think Chicago will be decent. I mean, the NFC North is going to be a bloodbath again. So, all of those. My birthday was Sunday. Happy belated birthday. All right. Is this the year I give up on Kyle Pitts? I'm not giving up on him entirely. I just personally refuse to believe. I'll say this. I'll say this till he's probably 28, and he's only 24. I refuse to believe that a tight end at 21 years old goes for over 1,000 yards. First time in 60 years, since Mike Ditka did it in 1961. Kyle Pitts did it in 2021. Yes, I know Brock Bowers just did it this year. I know that. Brock Bowers was in college when Kyle Pitts did it, so he's irrelevant for this conversation. I refuse to believe that player is just gone. I still think he can be schemed open. I still think there's something there. So I'm not entirely giving up. I don't think Kyle Pitts will, be a 1,000-yard player again, but I'm not entirely giving up on him. But I think that's actually going to wrap up tonight's chat, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel tremendously. We are approaching 180. The 2024 NFL Draft Grades video will be out Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Be there. Be square. But that's going to wrap tonight's videos up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I enjoyed the Senior Bowl. I actually was a little sick at the start of, I was very sick at the start of the Senior Bowl. I felt the worst that I had in like 15 years. I actually went to bed Monday night legitimately shivering. I just threw the blankets over top. I had a sweatshirt on and it was bad. It was tough. But we're back now. We're healthy. But that's the main thing is we're healthy and we're back. And somebody said I love the hat, so I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But we're going to be streaming a lot during the season, guys. During the draft season, we're going to be doing a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. And as always, until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.